I'm Lauren. I'm going to record on my computer today. Sorry, the visuals are not as good as they normally are, and probably the audio as well. I also live near a highway, near a military base. There's a lot of racing going on. Anyway, today I'm going to talk about some minimalism and frugality content. I'm Lauren Teresa. I used to be a trauma therapist. I owned a treatment center with my ex-husband. He bought me out of that business. I am very happy, joyous, and free now that I'm no longer doing that. It was a bit of a blind leading the blind situation. I grew up in semi-chaotic environments. My childhood was really amazing and great. I do not want to disparage my family in any way. I love my parents dearly. Though we're not the closest family that ever lived, we do love each other. We talk regularly. I just spoke to my mom yesterday. I am a kind person. I am not a nice person. I used to be the most pleasing girl. I used to be very pleasing. I have had an issue with people pleasing for a really long time. I am in 12-step recovery, and I've been sober for over 19 years now, and recently had some experiences with other people in recovery where there is some shame and power and control that has permeated that program to an extent that I don't necessarily ascribe to any longer. And I love 12-step recovery. I'm not leaving 12-step recovery. I'm a huge advocate for 12-step recovery. I do not represent it as a whole. I'm just one person. So please take what you want and leave the rest. Number one best choice I ever made in my life was getting sober. Honestly, I have nothing without it. I owe my life to a program of recovery that I love being a part of. However, as someone who is a trauma therapist and understands that the emotional scale is a normal part of being a human, there's this thing in one of the books that says anger is the dubious luxury of normal men or women. And it's basically saying that you're not allowed to be angry. And that has messed some folks up. Anger is a vital part of our emotional scale and experience. Granted, I don't believe anger should be directed outward towards other people or beings or furniture or creatures, but I do think in order to get from like the lower levels of despair, depression, anger, or frustration is generally an emotion you would move through to get to hope, right? So there's some negative ends of the emotional spectrum, anger included, and then you very quickly hopefully move through that to get to hope and then optimism and then excitement and joy and all that stuff. So I say that because I recently have had a lot of experiences with friends and fellows that I know who are also sober. And there's often this depth that goes into the relationships because we're so used to sharing so deeply. And while that works very well online, it doesn't always work very well in friendship relationships or mentorship relationships. I sort of made a choice a few years, since my separation. So yeah, a few years back, that I really wanted to just be happy, joyous, and free. That was my main goal in life. The reason that I am frugal, the reason that I'm a minimalist, the reason that I've given up on thinking I can buy something that will change my life is because the things that have always brought me the most joy are generally experiences with the people that I love. I'm not trying to say that death is bad. I'm trying to say that for me, when I've gotten into existential questions or nostalgia or other deep topics, they're generally not that fun and happy for me. I can see that other people potentially derive joy and happiness from having deep conversations on repeat and analyzing behavior in other people's lives or their relation to them. For me, I find that being lighthearted and kind of letting things go or just accepting people, places, and things the way they are without diving into the why of things has been a much more joyful experience of life. I really want my channel to be positive. So I know that phrase, if you spot it, you got it, applies here. And I am in this transition right now. When I hang out with my friends, I really don't want to talk negatively about not just my relationship, but I don't want to help them analyze theirs. I believe in an individual's ability to rise and know their truth and sit with themselves long enough to get the answers themselves and or find solution, right? I want to stay in solution and not in the story of victimhood or blaming. And I'll tell you what, and I could be wrong here, and I'm happy to be wrong, but it does seem like the majority of friendship relationships is that a lot of relationships are built in validating the problem. Does that ring true for anyone? I'm feeling a little alone right now. And not necessarily lonely. I have good relationships with people in my life. I have a best friend, I have my partner, I have my children, and I have beautiful friends that I play volleyball with, and I have friends in the program that I enjoy spending time with. But I would say that I'm probably nobody's favorite. And I think it comes from the way that I grew up. I have parents who worked a lot, and their emphasis was not on social interactions and social relationships and parties and events. So I think it just wasn't modeled to me as necessary. And I think I have very low social needs. I don't have zero social needs. I love the friends I do have. So I hope if they see this, I hope you know I love you and you're my people. If I'm texting you back, you're my people. We really talk a lot about these big ideas. I don't think there's anything wrong with discussing a problem if you're trying to actually get to a solution. One of the reasons I don't practice as a therapist anymore is I found that it was difficult to not immerse myself and others in the problem and telling the same story over and over again. I would say that my family of origin story has changed 180 degrees from when I got sober at 24 years old to now at 43, where if you had talked to me about the source of my issues when I first was a young 20-something getting sober, I would have placed blame in the realm of psychology and analyzed the trauma from my childhood as to the behavior and the circumstances in my life. Whereas now I look at my childhood with a lot of love, appreciation, and honest reflection as a parent, how difficult it is, and that everybody's doing the best they can with what they have. My spirit and resilience was inherent. It was there all along, regardless of my parents. I don't necessarily fault them. In fact, I think a lot of the things that they did were more beneficial than they were detrimental, if that makes sense. Sure, I think there's a Norman Rockwell version of them that I still sometimes circulate around and think, wouldn't that be nice? But I don't live there very much because, like I said, nostalgia, analyzing people, and going down this old story about how it could have been have never, not one time, done me a lot of service other than take up mental space or maybe make me feel like I'm doing something, but really just kept me stuck. So sort of the opposite is true. And I do believe that contrast and negative experience can be used to shape what we do and what we do not want, who we are and who we are not. I made a brief video the other day about my wardrobe, which I just put on TikTok. I wanted to make a better one for YouTube. I took my car into the shop today. The hybrid battery has to be replaced. They've had that car for 2 months. I did know, buying a Prius with over 100,000 miles on it that's over 10 years old, that this was a possibility. I did not take it to Toyota. I'm taking it to a shop that's a little bit cheaper. I'm okay with the cost. The car will drive better, especially going uphill. And I'll probably now drive that car for the next decade. I love my car. It's okay. I'm resigned to that fact. I recently got rid of all subscriptions other than I think I have 3 or 4. I have the cheap version of Netflix, the ad-free version of Disney, and the cheap version of Amazon Prime. And then I have YouTube, which I transferred from Apple to YouTube. I just found this out reading comments on frugal videos. Please comment your most frugal tips because I didn't know that. I didn't know it was cheaper. I didn't realize Apple was charging a surcharge. I got rid of I'm not paying monthly anymore for Apple storage because I have 2 little children. So I am out of storage space and I'm going to figure out, and I may pay to get all of my photos transferred to my computer so I can clear out my iCloud. I refuse to keep paying for storage. I'm just not going to do it anymore. I quit my gym membership recently. I did decide to keep Amazon, $145. It's like $139 for the year. So with tax, it was $145, 40 something. I did decide to keep Amazon. I don't know if it's going to pay for itself this year. I've been extremely frugal on Amazon the last few months. However, living on Oahu, it is sometimes the path of least resistance to get things that you need that you wouldn't normally otherwise be able to find on an island. And it is quick shipping and it's free. And that is rare on an island. So I'm still in the machine, but that's fine. It hurt a little, not gonna lie. The kids had a couple of subscriptions on their iPads that I'd canceled. We are doing an iPad detox. They're allowed to watch TV in the evening. We have Disney, Netflix, and Amazon Prime. They're allowed to do that. I think I'm only going to keep Disney on their TV downstairs because with Netflix and Amazon Prime, a lot of the shows on there are very stimulating. And I have been listening to the audiobook Simplicity Parenting and changing some of my habits there. I was talking about how decluttered and recluttered and decluttered and recluttered. And I'm in a decluttering phase after recluttering for a few years because I got really into cottagecore. I felt really validated listening to her because minimalism is not just a one and done. Environmentally speaking, I wish I were better at not accumulating and getting rid of stuff. So where I'm at right now, and maybe you're here too, is how do I arrange my life so I do not feel the need to impulsively buy something or be influenced by people that I love and care for? I love YouTube and I love content creation. Keeping myself sovereign while also consuming media has been difficult, even as a minimalist, because I'm also consuming minimalist content. And minimalists still have stuff sometimes. And then you see the minimalists with their things and you think, could that thing be good for me? Please don't be hard on yourself if you've gone down this road as well. I have gotten rid of things and then needed some version of it later. So I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I take a lot more time getting rid of things these days. I did spring cleaning and got rid of 11 garbage bags full of stuff. I have another one sitting by the front door, but I am stuck at filling it up. It's about a quarter full. One of the problems that I have been going through is the marketing that I'm allowing with my children and the people pleasing that I spoke about earlier that I'm allowing with my kids because they're constantly being influenced by their friends and dealing with the comparison of other families, other children, getting all of these things that they want, huge, elaborate, expensive birthday parties, and not comparing myself to those other parents. I'm in a rebuilding phase with finances and my world. After divorce, I'm still currently dealing with a tax issue, just got off the phone with my lawyer. That doesn't need to be discussed here right now. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world, but I don't want to live from a place of fear because right now I'm in my beautiful apartment making a YouTube video, semi-retired early. I have 2 beautiful children, 2 beautiful cats. The birds are at the bird feeder. It's a beautiful day in Hawaii. I'm going to go play volleyball later, maybe jump in the ocean. And I'm going hiking this week with a friend. My car's getting fixed and I have an emergency fund to fix it. That's why I talk about frugality, financial independence, and retiring early. I got out of debt from the divorce and the house, and a photographer took pictures this week. The apartments are going up for rent this week, and fingers crossed I get those places rented. I know that it's all going to happen if I'm not buying things, if I'm not accumulating. Once I declutter again to a level of satisfaction for my home where I can take care of it, keep it clean, at what point do I find contentment? The yo-yo of my time as a minimalist with stuff and less stuff and then more stuff has been, there's some question marks still. It's never done. There's still more to discover. And today I really want to spend time and space feeling joyful and focusing on what's good. And I don't even care that my car has to get fixed. I don't care about spending the money. When they told me the price it was going to be, I was like, yeah, that sucks. A friend of mine's off island. I get to borrow his car. What a gift. What a blessing. If I can stay in gratitude and remember, I have an amazing, beautiful, sober life. I live in a way that a lot of people would love to be living. And I don't want to take that for granted. So thank you for being here. Thank you for spending time with me. If you like this kind of stuff, please like and subscribe. I have 450 of you now. I started with 150. I've had this channel for years and years, and I had 150 subscribers. And I started really posting consistently. And yeah, last 6 weeks, we have been forming community here. I just can't believe that there's so many people out there like me. I've gotten your comments. They're making my day. I love and appreciate you. So please follow along for more. I was ranting today. They're probably always going to be like this. So thanks again.